All right, guys, welcome to Ezekiel 31. Very interesting title here. I wonder if it's talking about Devil's Tower, which a lot of people think is a giant tree stump. Could be. Never know. There's a lot of interesting stuff about that location. They find a lot of rock formations out there that look like tree branches, and they've had some of them tested, and it was fossilized woods. So who knows? But Egypt is cut down like a great tree. Let's see what this has to say, because this is going to be more about what was going on with Egypt from the last chapter. Now it came to pass in the 11th year, we're getting a lot of timestamps now, in the third month, on the first day of the month, that the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, say to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and to his multitude, whom are you like in your greatness? So he's going to try to test their pride a little bit, it sounds like. Indeed, Assyria was a cedar in Lebanon. So you can see the tree is referred to, or is a reference to nations, or even cities, or leadership. So when you see that happen, like you can go and you can see that in the book of Revelation, it talks about that. And a lot of people just say, oh, this is just trees getting wiped out. No, because he says, I'm gonna knock down all the trees in Lebanon, all the cedars in Lebanon. That's all leadership. I'm knocking all the leadership in Lebanon. See, when you learn this and you go back and read those things now about those trees, you're like, whoa, he's not actually talking about trees. Very interesting context here. Indeed, Assyria was a cedar in Lebanon, with fine branches that shaded the forest, and of high stature, and its top was among the thick boughs. Clearly, he's not talking about a tree, he's talking about Assyria. The waters made it grow. What waters? What are waters a reference to? The people. Underground waters gave it height. Hidden people, people of low stature, with their, or maybe even secret groups, with their rivers running around the place where it was planted, and sent out rivulets to all the trees of the field. So what is happening is there's flow coming in from other nations, making them great. And then they take that and it's flowing out from there to other trees in the field, other nations, other leaders. Therefore, its height was exalted above all the trees of the field. Its boughs were multiplied, and its branches became long because of the abundance of water as it sent them out. They were taking over, they were taking control because of the flow of supplies and things and power that was coming in. Verse 6, all the birds of the heavens made their nests in its boughs. Under its branches, all the beasts of the field brought forth their young, and in its shadow all great nations made their home. You can see this is a coalition of nations. As you're learning this, as I'm telling you this, keep in mind the other times, especially the book of Revelation, the referencing to the trees there, and now you know what he's really referring to. It helps you understand a whole bunch of the book of Revelation. Also Jeremiah, also Isaiah, all the other books. You start to see more of these references. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. He's talking about people here. Verse 7, thus it was beautiful in greatness and in the length of its branches, because its roots reached to abundant waters. The cedars in the garden of God could not hide it. The fir trees were not like its boughs, and the chestnut trees were not like its branches. No tree in the garden of God was like it in beauty. How interesting. Who's he talking about here? I made it, verse 9, beautiful with a multitude of branches, so that all the trees of Eden envied it, that were in the garden of God. Therefore, thus says the Lord God, because you have increased in height, and it set its top among the thick boughs, and its heart was lifted up in its height, pride. Therefore I will deliver it into the hand of the mighty one of the nations, and he shall surely deal with it. I have driven it out for its wickedness. Is he talking about a nation? Or, well, obviously he's talking about a nation of Assyria, But is he talking even further down? Is he speaking to Satan? Wasn't there an angel, what was it, an angel of Arabia or whatever, that whenever Daniel prayed and it took 21 days for the angel to get there, I had to fight the Prince of Arabia? That's all the same region. It's all the same stuff. Could be there's a even deeper meaning here where he's actually talking to Satan. Deliver you or get you taken care of. What did he say he delivered him to? The hand of the mighty one of the nations. Who's the mighty one? Could that be Jesus? Maybe. Verse 12, and aliens, the most terrible of the nations, have cut it down and left it. Its branches have fallen on the mountains and in the valleys. Its boughs lie broken by all the rivers of the land. And all the peoples of the earth have gone from under its shadow and left it. On its ruin will remain all the birds of the heavens, and all the beasts of the field will come to its branches, so that no trees by the waters may ever again exalt themselves for their height, nor set their tops among the thick boughs, that no tree which drinks water may be high enough to reach up to them. For they have all been delivered to death, to the depths of the earth, among the children of men who go down to the pit. It's talking about nations and peoples being dealt with. Judgment. Verse 15, thus says the Lord God, in the day when it went down to hell, I caused mourning. I covered the deep because of it. I covered the deep because of it. I restrained its rivers, and the great waters were held back. I caused Lebanon to mourn for it, and all the trees of the field wilted because of it. I made the nations shake at the sound of its fall, when I cast it down to hell together with those who descend into the pit. And all the trees of Eden, the choice and best of Lebanon, all that drink water, were comforted in the depths of the earth. I think he's referring to not only is he, I believe not only is he referring to nations, and the nations who are going to do the wrong things are going to be exalted, he's also referring to Satan. Because Satan is going to get cast down with those that go into the pit. This sounds to me like it's talking about the end of the tribulation. All the other trees, the trees of Eden, of course the garden of God is the earth. The trees of Eden and all, they're all going to be comforted. How interesting. Verse 17, they also went down to hell with it, with those slain by the sword, and those who were its strong arm dwelt in its shadows among the nations. It's a power structure. It's a ruling government, probably a one world order, which they're attempting to enact. A world government. Verse 18, to which the trees in Eden will you be likened in glory and greatness. Yet you shall be brought down with the trees of Eden to the depths of the earth. You shall be in the midst of the uncircumcised, and those slain by the sword, the unbelievers. This is Pharaoh and all his multitude, says the Lord God. So he's put an address on it. It's addressing Pharaoh, the as powerful as they were. But is this also secretly linking to the end of the tribulation when the one world government is taken out? Kind of sounds like it. Is it who's going to run that? Satan. Kind of sounds like it. Sounds like it's a hidden message. Maybe. I don't know. I could be wrong. But it sure seems to connect. Because obviously he's not talking about trees here. That's painfully obvious. He's not talking about trees. Very graphic and descriptive. I like it. Now that we see that referencing here in Ezekiel 31, you can take that, you can go look at other parts in the Bible where it references the trees of Lebanon, the cedars of Lebanon. You can start looking at that and go, wait a minute, it's kind of maybe sounds like he's talking about people now. Then you start to understand more prophecies. Then more prophecies start to make sense. It's like, oh, he's not talking about a forest being taken out. He's talking about a nation. He's not talking about these big trees. He's talking about the leadership of that nation. Now it makes sense. then a whole lot of prophecies start to make a lot of sense. Then you start to see a lot of the things going on in the world. It's like, oh, yep, well, I see that one's about to happen. There's that cedar. There's that tree. You start to realize what God is actually doing. See, it's not given to the rest of the world to be able to understand these things. It's only given to those that are His. He opens our eyes to see these things. And it helps us understand. He gives us peace because it shows us how much He really is in control. Guys, that was Ezekiel 31. Quick one today. Ezekiel 32 is tomorrow. Lamentation for Pharaoh and Egypt. There will be lamentations for them, we're just gonna keep going here because it's gonna keep going. And we'll see what else there is that the Lord has to offer. See what other little hidden tidbits of information we can discover. I'm telling you, I'm reading this and I'm seeing two messages here. I'm seeing three. One to Pharaoh, or about Pharaoh. Another one about a future time frame with a one world government, and a message to Satan at the same time. Maybe that's just me. I don't know, but sure seems like it. All right. See you guys in the next one.